welcome back to my lovely HP community and the 5D Collective. As I shared in our previous episode, we get to hear some stories, but we'll begin, in case you didn't hear it, with you own your own sense of self when you're of our lovely 5D collective. So whether you're a mystic or a mindfully living and loving person, the ones of us who do spirituality, we have God, faith, religion, not religion, yoga, all of it. We also know that we don't need to live the medieval times like the toxic, patriarchal, and fear-mongering human beings, and that in time, as sciences always has a way to ensure that we stay updated with what is health and what is living, and so do us when we go vote, all works out. So the smart sciences help anybody who wants to truly embody that which God gave you, and or that which Robert Sapolsky. So he shares that we've been determined, a science of life without free will. But it's not because he's against the therapist. He's trying to make a point of how people don't decide their transgenerational trauma, their childhood trauma, that stuff. Okay, so in the meantime, we have beautiful number of people offering their services, lower prices, some for free, mindset, everything, you name it. Social media has brought the good sciences and spirituality. We also know of the bad, and really it's not good or bad as in evil or good. It's effective and not effective. Effective for what? For the ones who want heaven in the body, the eternal child, and then there's the ones who don't, and they like suffering. No, they just say that suffering is part of what you have to have, and they don't go and heal. And so they don't own, observe, witness, narrate, or learn anything about their sense of self, let alone their core self, narrative, relational, solo self, which is why they're copying those who they follow and stuff like that. So again, you can tune into the other one if you want. But here we have eternal children, which is why, like Jesus shared with us and God, we love each other and we don't play God. So when I say we don't play God, I mean that we don't go around telling the human suffering love narrative group that they have to do human love narrative group. We also don't impose that they believe in anything, because that's not how it works. Faith is personal, and it's something you will feel. Spirituality is a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. In fact, we have those who are not mystics or spiritual that are living that truth, like Dr. Daniel Siegel, who got invited to a spirituality conference because he is supporting humanity and well-being. So science and spirituality come together to share that you are made in the way that you're meant to be made, but if you have a paused self, then no, you're not yet able to be your true self. So you're not going to be yourself. You're going to be your maladaptive self. You're going to be your adaptive child self, which really is a shame, blame, fault, revenge self, because you're a flag in the wind, and anything around you is going to, in fact, make you manipulable. And so, with that being said, though, again, life and moments shared are gifts experienced from the depths of self by mindfully self-aware people. So whether I'm hanging out with a 3D, 4D, a mutable, manipulable, not healthy self-worth person, or with people that are empowered like we are, the 5D Collective, it's always going to be a gift, because God gave me brothers and sisters to hang out with. You haven't physically threatened me at all. Therefore, even if you talk down to me, even if you project I with non-reactivity, because I'm the empowered person, that's what an inner child is, again, and a mindfully living and loving person. So we put into practice mindfulness because we enjoy empowering our mental and emotional planes, and that's why you do a mastery of your physical. So when I'm in the focusing attention, awareness, all my emotions, I get to handle them because I'm regulating Maria. And then I get to bring my kind intention because I want to. That's exactly why I walk a walk and talk a talk like Jesus taught me. Forgive, for they do not know. Blessed are those who believe without seeing. Don't cast a stone, and don't play me. And I made you the way I want you to be made. And others are not who they are meant to be if they don't go and reclaim their self at a therapist seat. Let that be clear. And they're not Lucifer, they're not garbage, they're not demons. If they enter a prison, there's Michael Stone, forensic criminologist, with that scale evil. Other than that, we have a maladaptive person who can get better from their personality disorders. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Fox. From any childhood developmental trauma, Patrick Tiahan coming in. From any unhealthy boundaries, Terry Real, and anything that is with non-integration, come on in, Dr. Daniel Siegel. And anything that's not in your social engagement Ventral vagal state, come on in, Stephen Porges, and anything that is basically still unresolved in your body of trauma. Come on in, Pat Ogden, Bezel Vanderkolk, Janina Fisher. Who else? I know Peter Levine, muscles, bones, and tissues. So we all have answers. It's not something that they built in one day. No, 30, I don't even know how many years. No, there's been a lot of years. I've been learning for the past 3 years. So as a mindfulness practitioner, a life coach, personality development coach, mentor, all words. You can use all of that, which you want. Meantime, mentor, podcast host. But the point is, you can be yourself, as I've been sharing. But now I know why so many are not their true selves. Okay, so when you do have access, though, to this, you are the eternal child. So I will consistently know that you and I can we can hug it out. So you will not have walked in my shoes, and I will not have walked in your shoes, which is why sharing those moments are very important. And you learn how to identify the ones who are not actually sharing anything with you. So I want to read to you another card as well. Anima Mundi. So if you are a person who has achieved the 5D Mystic Enlightenment, so age group like I have, so you have your restorative embodiment, you're self-aware, accountable, regulating, and you have a relationship, direct, Holy Spirit, God, Akash, then you're going to know of how this works, because you're pure consciousness, pure energy. So you unconsciously love and understand that all our brothers and sisters, they're equally co-creating, and we don't need to do anything. We're actively supporting each other. So for me, I support you to be yourself and to put into practice mindfulness and mindset if you want to keep on growing the depths of the relationship with you. That's that one-to-one mentorship. I share with you funny stories, how to be yourself and empowered. All those other voices are the same things. Our sciences, they get to continue doing their research. They get chased down by other sciences. As for spirituality, we have the ones of us who all come together. We don't use Lucifer name calling because we're smart, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and we're empowered. And when we're, again, around the Cuscos, we don't do reactivity. We actively do. I accept and respect you for who you are, because why wouldn't I? You're made your own way, and I know that you're not yet your true self, but you've chosen to commit to your Cusco attitude. So to copy people, to be rigid, to actually think that you don't have to allow my emotional, mental, subjective Maria experience to basically stand as it is. So you think you can cancel me out, which is where when people think that their way of wanting women and men to be in couples, right? Laws, all that stuff, the ownership of our bodies. Yeah. So they actively have non-bilateral integration. They actively don't have the empowered ego that is a humble. They also are completely hypocrites, because when somebody has something happen to them in a certain way that stings, watch them tell you that they think you're supposed to keep in mind that stung them. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is emotions are a funny thing, because if it stings you hard enough, then you're going to tell me, oh, you're not a person. Or if you have a list of rules that you've decided everybody else needs to follow. So the rigidity is quite clear. It's unbridled self-expression, people, and they get just, again, really pokey. But let me put that aside and let me read this for a minute. So we're friends with all. Again, we learn how to leave alone the pokey areas, and they can continue being hypocrites all they want. We're going to continue doing us, and then when we hang out with the ones who I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to learn, and he loves to expand and knock castones and dance, those are the people who we're around. Emotionally, mentally, and physically intelligent. Some of us are mystics, some of you are mindful. Come on over. So those are the most beautiful, because we're each experiencing our relationship with depth. So none of us get unseen. None of us get ridiculed. None of us get into any of that, which is me talking to you for hours about important things, and you completely, and this has happened, more than I'd like to share, because the reality is, wow, when you share the depths of your anima, and then it's completely, like my facade friend, that's why I thank him, though, because he taught me how to handle it very easily. So once it happens once, where a person that you love doesn't actually hear you at all, and disregards everything you will have told him, that is important, because it's important. It's not just random. It's part of my life, like who I am. And when he completely showed me that none of it was still present in his ears, in his mouth, and it had never been, because he talked over me, because I don't exist according to Maria. So all you need is a small part of a person that they don't own of their self for you to notice that they're disconnected, by the way, because they're going to taint whatever you said based on their own biases and their own past, and they're going to actually justify their own emotional charge. That's the part of why when I find the ones who are the best at hiding it, it's not their fault, but for another episode, not this one. Anima mundi, the soul of the world, all that is. Anima mundi epitomizes the principle accept all, reject none. Simply put, it is the living soul of the world in all its multifaceted, multidimensional layers, bonded together by loving cosmic forces. Diversity is celebrated, embraced, multiplicity is honored, and nothing is denied. Nothing is denied to be also taken in, embraced. This is another word. So, constructs of separation dissipate into the wonderful mess of shared consciousness. Anima mundi is the link between the literal and the imaginal, the rational and the mythic. It is the connective fiber that makes life meaningful. This card indicates an initiation on the level of the soul. You will awaken the unique light within and witness how this light contributes to the radiance of the entire universe. And you will sense yourself as a note in the cosmic orchestra, even one that might be making those nice little ripples. Destiny can potentially be altered as you hear the enchanted melody of all living things. For sure, for you. For others, that's not the case. So for the person who embodies all of pure consciousness and pure energy, you will perceive others just the way they are. When they don't perceive you and your note, that's that part of the disconnect from you to them, but you being able to be aware of it. In the absence of making it into a big deal is what makes you capable of sharing a moment with somebody who doesn't have their own sense of self. So when you meet people who are not mindfully self-aware or accountable regulating, and therefore they don't have complete respect of different ways of living. So respect means that you don't respect means that you do acknowledge my emotional mental plane as valid. That's why we have those two groups that are yelling at each other, if you will, but their yelling isn't going to help either or become more emotionally open. Because vulnerability, number one, is about you being able to be vulnerable. So it's me being able to share my soul with you and then notice when you're not seeing me how to be able to handle it like a grown-up, because you don't have to see me. Reality is I, as a grown-up, can self-regulate and I can self-attune because I'm self-empowered, because I self-soothe. This is what it means to be non-reactive. So if I meet a person who lacks depth, I'm not going to lecture them. They need a therapist. They don't need me to connect to their soul. In fact, they won't connect to their soul with me. And that's where the distorted feminines, instead, they go and capture all of those which are masculines. You see, as a person who did learn about God and free will and the embodiment of a true feminine, I would not ever dare force you to love or think or feel or do any of life. You never walked one day in my shoes. I never walked one day in your shoes. But you better bet, anytime that the coin is on that other end, here's where you're going to notice if I got a flag with a flag post or I got a flag in the wind. The minute I got a flag in the wind, like my facade friend, I got a fake-o. That's for the empowered feminine. I'm not going to invest my time in a masculine. Don't you know that they have a hard time committing? Because they need to be captured, contained, given limitations and meaning. Nurtured, that's right. So human secondary consciousness is what that is. If you ask a human being, which is why, own your sense of self, own your child parts, own your brain, own your mind, own the embodiment of you, and then we're going to have a mindfully living and loving person, which is going to know, by the way, the amazing journey of the infinite and beyond as a mystic with that relationship. So again, for as much as Robert Sapolsky shares his lovely book with us, Determined and No Free Will, basically, I will say that with the smart human beings out there, we do have the people who are healing. So they're getting to return home to their true self. That means we get to work with those people to create a new relationship with each other. They get to claim their own true inner child and to become the person that they were meant to become, and to make use of that gift of life because they cherish it, by the way. Then we have the ones who they don't want to, like the facade friend and other people who will allow themselves to continue with adaptive child mannerisms, and they will follow Peter Pan's, and they will continue to think that those Peter Pans have some smarts. They also continue with toxic patriarchy, matriarchy, all of it. They take God and use his name. Lucifer use his name, tell us how we're supposed to dress, how we're supposed to fuck, how we're supposed to not fuck. I mean, really, they can keep on doing all that, right? So, in the meantime, FYI, for anyone who is in the 5D plane, we don't make it into a huge deal because we did notice that our past happened already and we're making headway. So it's baby steps, and the ones who create a sense of urgency don't understand that that doesn't change things. What we want is more people to come together with their differences from sciences and spirituality. So flat earthers, they don't want to be part of the round earthers. I'm saying let's get the ones of you who understand what I'm saying. More of us are together, the ones grounded in reality. Because at the end of the day, definitely we're more proactive, and our brains, they think clearer, because they're integrated. They also work better because they're integrated. Oh, we're also using our prefrontal cortex, so emotionally, mentally, and physically intelligent people, mystics and not, we work together. So yeah, anyways, let's thank all of those people who shared with us moments, because no matter how small it might have been, and how insignificant it can be for others, it will be meaningful to those of us who live from the heart. And then it is something to understand that, you know, you give people the opportunity to unconditionally love each other by being able to be presented in the forefront. So when I say I can love you for who you are, and I do, you get to tell me and show me how you're going to love me. And I'm going to allow you to be you. I'm not taking my love away because you don't know how to offer me a secure connection. I don't need you to be a secure connection, and I don't need to come and armchair diagnose you. That's actually toxic people that do shit like this. They don't know how to go to therapy and get themselves empowered. And it's not that they're toxic in the way of toxic. No, I don't use that word as much. But if I need to use it, I'm going to say anybody who's wanting to yell at anybody is toxic, because they all do Diego. They're not right. None of them are. They obviously don't know how to regulate their nervous system, which is why they're children in a playground beating each other up and just looking not any different than yesterday. So again, the 5D collective, we're different. Why? Because we have the embodiment of what a real feminine is. You have free will. It's called, I will not treat you like a piece of shit, because you were already expecting to be treated like a piece of shit. And if you're following somebody that likes to treat people like piece of shit, well, it's pretty clear. And to tell me how to fuck or not fuck, or what wife to be or not to be, or, you know, what husband, whatever that is. So I didn't think I'd grow up to see that people that are my age would actually follow that shit, or that people who are younger than me would follow that shit, but there's plenty of them that do. I know where to find insecurely attached people, meaning the ones who don't own their sense of self. They don't own their anima mundi at all. In fact, that's why they're soulless, are these leaders that they follow, because they can't fathom to live a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self, because they still don't fathom owning their own sense of self, because they didn't take the core self narrative relation or solo self stuff seriously. The MDR child parts work somatics. No, in fact, we got an avoidant on screen telling us how she's going to stay avoidant, because, you know, humans are fucked up. You also have coaches telling you that secure attachment is boring. So, I mean, so really, you got people who are shamans. Don't go to a therapist. Come to me. No, not really. That's not how that works. And so, yeah, we have differences. At the end of the day, though, like I said, we share that gift of life. So it's appreciation that we have for all people. 3D, 4D, 5D. I thought they would go somewhere. Now I know they won't. As God has informed me, everyone plays life differently, Maria. You accept that, because don't play me, and don't worry, those monsters aren't me. Thank you, God. I already knew that part. They're wanting to live the medieval ages. I think that they have a hard time letting go of those rigid identities, their personas. They're like, oh no, what am I going to do? I don't have a role anymore. Well, you actually would have had a nice role had you embraced what true faith is, which is you would have been able to join all the spirituality folk. But if you want to keep it all to yourself, I think you're afraid of losing. What does that sound like? Oh, wait, that's right. Adaptive children. What do? They're trying to prove their place in the herd. That's called I'm afraid of losing my spot. Well, we don't live with nature anymore, but I noticed you don't own your mammalian heritage at all. So that's where the evolutionary psychologists, existential therapy, all of them have taught me exactly why people are afraid to be their self and why they cower in shame, and then why there's the 7 and 14 charming that lead them. Peter Pan is really good at looking badass, and Lost Boys don't notice the difference because they're lost. But they don't want to be found because when you say, hey, I love you for just who you are, how dare you? I'm supposed to be treated like a piece of shit. Well, no, not really. Yes, I am. Okay, then, you know what? I think I'm going to leave that one alone. Oh, they also don't do confrontation at all. Like, I found that one out as a teenager, so people don't know how to tell you the truth. All my teenage friends who didn't tell me about my teenage boyfriend and my teenage boyfriend. So as I got older, when people lie, I'm like, yeah, it's not a big deal. So I met cowards as a teenager, still meeting them now. And then I meet the ones who think they're not. It's fascinating, isn't it? Yes, so we share a lot of moments, a lot of gifts. Tune on in for more tomorrow. In the meantime, again, remember to leave alone the ones who want to stay in their safety behavior survival mode because they've chosen Diego's family from Ice Age, dysregulation, and unhealthy self-worth relationships. So we just get to watch Tom and Jerry every now and then, Pinocchio, we hang out together, we have a good time. As for life partners, the real ones, that's where I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to live, and he loves to learn, and he loves to love, and he loves to not cast stones and expand. So we do have integrity, the one that God taught me, and then the one that also the scientists talk about. It's called somatic empaths. And, functional adults for Terrio. But we have unconditional love. We don't have conditions because, it's okay. We forgive when we notice that they don't know that their Cusco mask is on, like with my facade friend. It's not their fault. Their 0 to 8-year-old is ruling them, and they think they know everything. Excuse me, you're confusing science and spirituality. Your brain's falling out of your asshole, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know what? You're so right. How about you tell me what I'm talking about right now? I'm all ears, 3-year-old, because you showed me your tattoos and you told me you're a mystic too. You're completely making me, how could I deny that you don't know what you're talking about? You know everything. Come on, tell me. And this is exactly why that fancy lady knows nothing about a poker face. She thinks we can have no emotions. She just doesn't know what non-reactivity looks like. I learned how to get out of shit that was stupid when I was a teen because all these teenagers kept on being really stupid. And I was like, how can I get out of this? I tried nodding, and they're like, nah, you're nodding. Okay, fine. And then I started to say, you know what, how about, what was that? Wow, really, whoa. And, because I'm not pretending, by the way, you know why I'm not pretending? Because God told me how to share the floor. Also, I have a twin, so I really do care. I don't pretend to care. Like, my heart is actually, I do care. Even if I'm uninterested, I'm still caring. If I really begin to get uninterested, I'm like, look, I can't hear you anymore. And you know what happens when that happens? A friend of mine, I told him, I said, you lost me. He said, no, I didn't. He said, you got uninterested and lost. I was like, shit. It's like, okay, look, let me reword myself. I lost track of what you were saying because, yes, my brain just started hearing your voice because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and I'm not really that interested in the bureaucratical, but I really did want to hear you, so I didn't want you to keep talking without me following along. That's how an inner child adult does it. We can't lie, and we will take the feedback. So it was right. It wasn't his fault, and I didn't mean to say it was his fault, and that's why I corrected myself. I love my friends. So we'll be back with more. Again, thank you for stopping by. Like and share, subscribe, and if you know anybody else who likes to do 5D mystic, self-help, mindful living and loving, and spirituality stuff, and they enjoy woo-woo lady here, and love and laughter and living for real, alive, okay, then send them over. If they don't want to live aliveness, don't send them over. If they're rigid, yeah, better know. If they're picky with words, no, we don't do dictionaries. We do whatever the fuck comes out of our mouths, and then we try to make sure we can figure it out. We like to, hand gestures. I'm American Italian. The Neapolitan part of me is always like, we can figure this out. We don't have to talk it out. No, that's not true. I love talking. I'm like the little energizer battery, keeps going and going and going. Okay, thanks for stopping by again. Anima Mundi. This is such a beautiful card. I can't get enough of it. So we'll be back again soon.